You asking questions?
There are many people asking why.
You better ask why.
There are many people paying attention.
Are you paying attention?
There are many now who see the big.
Do you see the lies?
There are many folks who want to get.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, wherever you're situated on this great big beautiful blue globe floating through the void of Yah's creation. It's the 26th of August, 2025. And yes, the media's at it again. They're lying, they're propagandizing, they're gaslighting, and we all see it. Guess what, media moguls?
You won't be trusted anymore.
All right, welcome to the Taco Tuesday edition of the WTF Reports. I'm Dave vonKleist, and this broadcast is brought to you in part by the Wave Watch. If you don't know about Rife technology, you got to get some smarts in you. Royal Raymond Rife knew exactly what Nikola Tesla was talking about when it came to frequencies. And that's why Rife was able to take these frequencies and use them to destroy pathogens and to help healthy cells get healthier. So if you don't know about the Wave Watch, please visit our website, TheWTFReports.com. Click on the sponsors page and check out the Wave Watch. You'll be glad that you did. All right, I'm going to jump right in here, folks. There's several different issues I want to get to. Of course, one of the big issues over the past weekend, it came out that that John Bolton had a raid at his house, and he didn't like that too much. And of course, all the Democrats are saying, "Oh my gosh, this is terrible. Trump's using the military and all this stuff to arrest people." Well, wait a second. Did you forget about all the people under the Trump administration that have been arrested? Don't even go there. But the point is that this is really shaking things up in Washington. There are a lot of people that are starting to see that the chickens are coming home to roost. As a matter of fact, it was, I guess it was about a week or two ago that Tulsi Gabbard was talking about James Clapper's involvement in the Russia collusion thing. You know, Russia. The whole, I'll just play the clip. Here, listen to this.
James Clapper was on the team that created, that manufactured intelligence assessment that led to the Iraq war, about the Iraq WMDs. He writes about it in his book, saying that he and his team of intelligence analysts created something that was not there. When you look at his actions then, and you look at his actions in 2016 as Obama's director of national intelligence, you see someone who has no problem whatsoever politicizing and manufacturing and weaponizing intelligence for a political outcome.
Mm-hmm. And that's why I'm saying, what goes around comes around. And, of course, Trump and anybody who was supporting Trump was getting arrested. I mean, look at Mike Lindell. And I mean, I can't even think of it. Was a big, long list of people who were, arrested, et cetera, when the Biden administration was in charge. So now that Trump's back in office, well, what's that old saying? You can dish it out, but you can't take it. And they're saying, oh, this is retribution. It's revenge. No, this is justice. Quite different from something that you folks have experienced. But anyway, I wanted to point that out that, James Clapper is, it says here, there are a couple of unconfirmed reports here. Now, I don't know how reliable this particular report is, but it is being reported from the Tazara Post, and it was also reposted at Real Raw News, and I don't have a whole lot of faith in some of the stuff that they put out. But apparently it says here that Michael Baxter, who is the writer of this article, and he published this on August 20th, a week ago, it says here United States Marines on Tuesday, that's last week, arrested former Director of National Intelligence James Clapper the same day the current DNI, Tulsi Gabbard, stripped his security clearances based on evidence that he and his treasonous ex-boss, Barack Hussein Obama, had orchestrated the bogus Russiagate scandal to impugn Donald Trump's character as he was running his first presidential campaign. Now, again, I don't know. I don't have confirmation on this, but this is being reported. And now we have to stop and think a little bit. You know, what's going on in Washington, D.C., you know, of course, Trump is federalizing the National Guard and the police and sending the National Guard in there, and they're cleaning up Washington, D.C., and there's talk now about him doing the same thing in Chicago. Of course, the mayor of Chicago is not too happy about it because he really sucks at his job. I mean, my gosh. But, yeah, they're talking about doing the same thing in Baltimore and in New York City, and we already know what's going on in Los Angeles. And so maybe, just maybe, this whole thing about, you know, sending in the National Guard, could he be positioning all of these armed individuals, you know, the military, is he positioning them for what could be mass arrests? Now, of course, the narrative is that he's going in there to clean up the crime, which does have to be done. I mean, Chicago's a mess. Baltimore is a mess. You know, I mean, these Democrat cities are absolute, you know, abominations. And a lot of folks that in D.C. now are coming forward and saying, you know what, I feel safer now than I've felt in a long time. Can actually walk down the street. And where all of these encampments were, the city is getting cleaned up. So, you know, what they're doing with the homeless, well, they want to send them up and get them help. They want to get them into rehab centers, you know, housing shelters, et cetera, et cetera. And at the same time, yes, they're trying to clean up all the illegal immigrants that are in here. Okay, I should say undocumented. Yeah, that's a little easier to say. You don't want to use that word illegal. It's sort of the word, like the word genocide. You can't say that. Can't say the word rape. No. You can't say any of these words. Now, you can drop F-bombs and S-bombs, and you could say any type of profanity that you want. But, I mean, we just, I already got a call here. You can say any word that you want, but, I mean, during the pandemic, you couldn't even say the word vaccine, you know? So, anyway, I got a bunch of news I want to get to, but the caller comes first. Let's see, who's there? Who dat? Hello? Hey. Yes.
Cynthia.
Hey there, Cynthia. What do you got? Make it quick. I got a ton of stuff to get to here.
Well, you know, the James Fetzer has a huge reputation for exposing falsehoods and false flags. And he says that Donald J. Trump is believed to have died in 1989 in a helicopter, possibly related to his ownership of a casino.
I've heard that too, yes.
And so that would suggest an interesting opportunity for those of us who do not want war to put out the word that any military officer who obeys a command to attack another country is violating the Constitution, because that is not a valid precedent. Nor had they gone to the Senate and asked for permission to do that.
Well, according to Public Law 102-25, which was signed by President George Bush Sr. back in 1991, he'd basically declared the Persian Gulf conflict would end. And he used the word conflict instead of war, but it's the same doggone thing. He said that the conflict would end by presidential proclamation or by law. And to this day, there has been neither a presidential proclamation or a law that has been passed to end the Persian Gulf conflict. So that means that George Bush Jr., GW, back in 2003, he didn't need congressional approval to go into Iraq and take out Saddam Hussein. And nobody else needs approval either, because we are still at war if you go by Public Law 102-25. I got it sitting right over here.
Any law that is not consistent with the enumerations in the Constitution is not a valid law.
Well, yeah, that's Marbury versus Madison. Yeah, we've heard that. But you know what? As they say, if you don't know your rights, you don't have any. And if you don't know the laws, well, then, you know, that's one of the problems we got with law enforcement. Most of the police officers don't know the law. So,
well, faced with the fact that Donald J. Trump is actually not on the planet, then the military officers are going to have to deal with that and not and not wage war on another country.
Well,
That will help keep us in World War III.
well, I mean, if Donald Trump was unalived back in 1989, then the whole thing is a farce. So,
It's a farce. You're absolutely correct.
yeah.
We had the fake Biden show. We have Barack Obama, who probably wasn't even a U.S. citizen.
Yeah, I know. The whole thing. It's a clown world. Everything is wrong. Say, listen, Cynthia, I got a ton of stuff I got to get to. I appreciate your call as always, but I really got to get this information out there. So thank you much. And that, the issue about whether or not that's the real Donald Trump or not, that's a whole nother can of worms and a whole nother broadcast. But we'll probably touch on that in the near future.
Okay.
All right. Thank you much, Cynthia. You be well.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Okay, I just all right. I was just talking about James Clapper. Now I don't know whether that's true or not, whether he was arrested or not. But the point is that again, Trump has federalized a lot of police and brought in National Guard and everything on the guise or under the premise that it's there to clean up the crime in the streets. But there could be an ulterior motive. He could be positioning everybody for those mass arrests that we've been hearing about that are incoming. So we can only hope and pray maybe that's what's going to happen. All right, I wanted to touch on that. Now, the other issue, you may recall, was about 2 weeks ago, there was a little girl who was in Gaza, maybe 8 years old or something like that, and she was carrying a jug of water, and she got droned, and it's on video. I mean, we're not talking about an enemy combatant. We're not talking about Hamas. We're talking about a little girl carrying water. And she was going across the street, and boom, she got droned. Now some people would make the statement that this is Israel defending itself, right? But I'll tell you, this is why the world is hating on Israel right now. And you know what? On one hand, I almost have to thank Bibi Netanyahu because his actions are now helping people understand why Hitler hated the Jews. I mean, think about that. Now, I do want to discern there are two kinds of Jews in this world. All right? I'm getting ahead of myself here. I'll go down that road. Okay, there are Old Testament Jews that go by the Torah. Now, keep in mind, the Christians and the Jews have the Old Testament in common. We got the same prophets. You got Isaiah. You got Jeremiah. You got, it's all basically the same 10 commandments. Okay, the same laws from God, and that's from the Old Testament Jews who go by the Torah, and Christians who go by the Old Testament. All right? But there is another class of Jews, a whole nother class. They are the Talmudic Jews. Now, where did they come from? All right, well, we got to go back like 6,000 years. Remember when Moses came down with the 10 Commandments and found that the people were worshiping a calf? Well, that's because before that all happened, people were involved in animal sacrifice, child sacrifice, Baal worship. Yeah, Moloch, Lucifer. Well, the name Lucifer came in later, but the point is that they were involved in child sacrifice, animal sacrifice. And those were the, from the Canaanites, I guess. But the point is, is that there are two different groups. There's Torah Jews and the Talmudic Jews. And the Talmudic Jews are the ones who stuck around. They didn't go away. No. I mean, that was after the age of Taurus. Okay? After that came Aries, the age of the ram. And that's when the Old Testament came into play. And then after Aries came the age of Pisces, and that was the birth of the Messiah. Of course, that's where the Jews and Christians disagree. However, I think that they could both agree that he was a prophet. And as a matter of fact, the Muslims agree that Jesus, I like to call him Yeshua, that Yeshua was a prophet. So, I mean, there are some similarities here. But the Talmudic Jews are completely off on a different tangent. All right? That is why when Jesus was talking to the Pharisees, And this is covered in John. And again, I'm not going to get here to proselytize, I'm just trying to point out that it doesn't make any difference what I believe. It doesn't make any difference what you believe. What makes a difference is what they believe. And the bottom line here is when Jesus was talking to, or Yeshua was talking to the Pharisees that were calling themselves Jews, but they were not. And that's also in Revelation 2:9 and 3:9. And in John 8:44, Jesus said to them, "Ye are of your father the devil, and the lusts of your father ye will do. He was abode not in the truth, because there is no truth in him. When he speaketh a lie, he speaketh of his own, for he is a liar and the father of it." He was talking to the Pharisees, who had corrupted themselves and had reverted to Baal worship, I guess you could call it. Okay, and that's where the Star of Remphan comes in. I will not call it the Star of David, because David didn't have a star. But that star is the Star of Remphan, which represents Moloch, okay, or Lucifer, whichever way you want to call it. So I have to thank Bibi Netanyahu for helping to point out why Adolf Hitler was condemning the Jews. Because they weren't the real Jews, they were the Ashkenazi, they were the Khazars. They were the ones who impersonate the Jews. They had assimilated the Jewish faith and were hiding behind it. They weren't representing the real Jews. And I wish the real Torah Jews would stand up and say, hey, well, you know what? A lot of them are. So I wanted to get that out there because of the fact that, all of these atrocities that we are watching in Palestine or Gaza, I mean, they're just one after another after another. I was just talking about the little girl who got droned. Of course, now there's the issue about the Nasser hospital. There was the hospital was hit, and the rescue workers went in there along with journalists, and there were about 20 of them on a balcony trying to help the survivors and retrieve the bodies of the dead. And it was only 15 minutes after the first strike, and they all got in there to try to help, and then it got hit again. And it took out 6 journalists and a whole bunch of first responders. Now, is this the act of a godly people, God's chosen people? Or would this be the act of some people who worship something other than the God of the Bible and the God of the Torah? Interesting situation. As a matter of fact, I got the video pulled up here, and I find it really interesting that none of the networks have been covering this. I did see some coverage on one of the alternate news stations. I usually flip between One American News, News Nation, and I know one of them was carrying it. They carried the footage because it was on Al Jazeera. But they got the video footage here. Let me see. Here. There's here you can see the guys on the balcony. Bam! It was live on television. It was horrible. It was just horrible. And then once they got in there and they retrieved the bodies from the second bomb, there were a couple of video cameras there, and they have video footage from a different angle from one of the journalists who was martyred in that attack. And so, as a matter of fact, RT reported this. Let me see. This is the coverage from RT. Let me see if this one's in English. No, it's not in English. All right, I'm sorry. I'm just going through. I got so much stuff pulled up here. So RT actually covered it. And now let me see. Here's another video here. Oh, yeah, this is the video I was just telling you about of one of the journalists who was in the balcony as they went up there to rescue the survivors and retrieve the bodies of the dead. And anyway, so here he is, taking footage of them helping to put a body in a bag, and then boom, he's gone. So apparently this journalist was killed, and this was the last video he took. So I mean, this just goes on and on and on. Let me see. Here is another report. I think this is from Al Jazeera. Let me see if this one's in English.
Well, joining us is Francesca Albanese, the UN Special Rapporteur.
Oh, Francesca Albanese,
on the occupied Palestinian territory. She's joining us live from Tunis. Good to have you with us. What's your reaction to what's been happening?
It's disgraceful. Again, I confirm what we just heard. The journalists should be protected like all civilians, and all the more because they have a special duty to tell what happens on the ground. In the past 21 months, 22 months now, we have seen journalists often being targeted for what they were doing. And the fact of having a total ban on foreign journalists entering the Gaza Strip aggravates the situation, because there are no other voices supporting the journalists on the ground. There are over 220 journalists who have been killed right now. This situation is abominable in and of itself.
220 journalists have been killed. As a matter of fact, this last week, as Bibi announced that they're going in for their final push, there were another 20 journalists that were murdered. See, the object here is they want to get all of the journalists, every single one of them, out of there so that they could send in the IDF and finish the job. In other words, to go in there and exterminate the survivors who were left. This is what we're looking at. Are these God's chosen people? And I can't fathom how many of our elected officials have been snookered. They've been fooled into thinking that they're supporting, Jews. They're not supporting Jews. They're supporting the Talmudic Zionist, murderous, Baal-worshipping, Lucifer-worshipping murderers. And it just goes on and on. And again, this whole thing about the Talmud, people have to understand. You've got to do some research on what it says in the Talmud. And meanwhile, you've got Ursula von der Leyen, in charge of the EU, making statements like this.
Europe is the values of the Talmud.
Europe has the values of the Talmud. Where did she get that? That's a lie. That is an absolute lie. And meanwhile, there are rabbis out there that go by the Torah, and they are condemning the Zionist Jews that are out there, the imposters. And that's what they are. They are imposters. Here is Rabbi, let me see, what is his name? Oh, yeah, Moshe Silverstein. Here's what he had to say.
AIPAC is not a Jewish organization. Who appointed them as representatives of the Jewish people or the Jewish community? And who elected their officials? As American Jews, we are loyal to this country. We vote for the benefits of the United States. We have no dual loyalty. The only factor which deems a group Jewish is if they actually follow the Torah,
right,
and what Judaism dictates. Let them call themselves whatever name they want, but certainly not Jewish.
That's right. If you follow the Torah, then you're Jewish. If you don't, then you're not. And the imposters are following the Talmud, as Ursula von der Leyen said. And for those that have been snookered by it and fooled by it, my gosh.
It's critical all the time to be outspoken with the help of the Almighty against this terrible crime of the occupation, the bleeding people of Gaza. And it's being done in the name of religion. That's why the world is condoning it, or at least they're silent what's happening. And as Jews, we find it obligatory. It's critical. We speak up and say that what they're doing is criminal. Our religion is a religion of Judaism is 3,000 years. Zionism is a mere 100-odd years. The movement and the state is 75 years. How could they dare claim they're speaking in the name of our religion, which says that we're not allowed to kill or steal? We're not allowed to occupy. We're not even allowed to have a state since 2,000 years ago, since the destruction of the temple. So their whole issue is blatantly contradictory to my religion. Yet they are powerful. AIPAC, American Israeli Political Alliance Committee, has power and money. And with money, you can buy the court systems. You can buy politicians, and that's what they're doing.
Right.
So we have to be out here and let them hear, and that they should not be intimidated, because what happens is the politicians are fearful they'll be labeled anti-Semitic. We have to have the world hear that AIPAC is criminal, their money is criminal, and their accusations and intimidation of politicians, whoever wants to have any feeling for Palestine, it's criminal because pro-Palestinian is pro-peace. Pro-Israel is anti-Semitism.
That's
the
right.
cause of blood of the Palestinians and Jews, for the rift between Jews and Muslims. We've been living together in peace. Nobody could deny our 75 years of, not 75 years, but hundreds of years of coexistence. So it's only Zionism that has destroyed this beautiful fabric. That's why we're here. God will help that the world will hear eventually, because the truth will always come to the top.
That's right. That was Rabbi Yosriel David, or David, however you pronounce his name. So yes, there are honorable Jewish folks out there that are standing up against the Zionist, Talmudic, Satan-worshipping imposters calling themselves Jews. And until the real Jewish folks out there, and I don't condemn, I'm on the record and very well documented, I don't condemn all the Jews. I condemn the imposters who call themselves Jews, but they are not. And again, that's in Revelation 2:9, and it's also repeated in 3:9. So, I mean, yeah, it's all coming to pass. And so, I mean, this is why I'm banging the drum here for all the Jewish folks out there that are listening. If you go by the Torah, you've got to stand up against what is going on there in Israel, because Israel is being run by Satan-worshiping Zionist imposters. And until you stand up, you're going to suffer the same consequences, because too many idiots out there don't know the difference, thanks to your mainstream media. Because the media is not going to cover this. They're not going to help you to discern the real from the fake. And unfortunately, it's the fake Jews out there that have come to power all across this country, have taken over this entire country. All you got to do is look at all the CEOs and presidents of the major corporations and see that Star of Remphan. I won't call it the Star of David. They represent the Star of Remphan, of Moloch, of Baal. And that's why I said a little while ago, hey, look, maybe we need to thank Bibi Netanyahu for helping the world understand why Adolf Hitler hated the Jews. Anyway, there's growing numbers of Jews that are against Zionism. Thank God. Here's another clip. Let me see. I don't forget who this was.
It is the responsibility of every single Jewish person in this moment to say absolutely no to Zionism. The entire ideology is built on racism, fascism, and anti-Semitism, and it must be dismantled. It is resulting in and manifesting in the Holocaust of Palestinians, not just in Gaza, but in the West Bank, and an increase in repression all over the world against Palestine solidarity. Israel uses Judaism, and it uses the weaponization of anti-Semitism as an excuse for committing genocide. Over the past 77 years, Israel props up its racist, fascist agenda through the weaponization of anti-Semitism. I personally, and in my organization, we stand in the tradition of Marek Edelman, in the tradition of the Warsaw Ghetto Uprising and of Jewish resistance, and it is for that reason and many others that we stand unequivocally with the Palestinian resistance and Palestinian resistance to genocide, to Zionism, and to the criminal terror Israeli state at any cost.
Mm-hmm. So there are a lot of folks out there that are coming to understand the imposters that they are. And let me see, who else do I have here? I got so many different clips here. Let me see. Okay, yeah, AIPAC. More and more people are starting to realize that if you're affiliated or funded by or supported by AIPAC, you are committing political suicide. Now, we got the midterms coming up next year. And I have a funny feeling that as more and more people wake up, and it's happening very quickly, it's called the noticing. People are starting to notice what's going on. People have listened now. If you haven't checked it out, they took Adolf Hitler's speeches. We've seen the old films of him shaking his fist and, nobody knows what he was saying. Well, the Germans do. But most Americans don't. All they know is they see this, apparently this is a madman flailing his fists in the air. But they took his speeches and ran them through AI, and translated them into English in Adolf Hitler's voice. Now, I don't agree with everything that he said, but I got to tell you, if you listen to some of his speeches, your eyebrows will fade into your hairline and you're going to go, eh? Because he was screaming about the same crap that we're dealing with today. And like I said, the actions being taken by the Zionist IDF, Bibi Netanyahu, and his cabal are waking people up and helping people understand why Adolf Hitler was so PO'd at these imposters called Jews. Anyway, let me see here. Yeah, this is it here. AIPAC is political suicide. Listen to this.
Israel just killed another journalist, this time from Al Jazeera, for reporting on their war crimes. They're starving people to death. They murdered journalists. It's endless, the sickness. This is genocide. It's ethnic cleansing and genocide. It's land annexation. They've committed every war crime there is. The 2026 midterms are coming.
Yeah.
It has to be that support for Israel is political suicide. That's the only way. That's the only issue you need. If you support Israel, you don't get a vote. You have to make that happen, America.
Yes, you do. And please don't be intimidated. Don't you dare let somebody say, oh, if you don't support Israel, then you're an anti-Semite. That's garbage. The Palestinians are the Semites, and the Israelis are the anti-Semites. And they got everybody brainwashed to think it's the other way around. You know, Abby Martin spelled it out real well. Here she is.
People in Gaza need to know that it's the beginning of the end of the Zionist state. Okay. The Zionist state will not survive. To stay in the same place, they have to kill and kill and kill. That's the only thing they know how to do. And that's not a surviving strategy. And the more people who wake up, and certainly tens of millions of more people have woken up to the truth, to the barbaric nature of what Zionism is and what Israel really represents, there's no going back for them. So for decades, pro-Palestine advocates have been on the defense to explain why defense of Palestine, why advocacy for Palestinian liberation is not anti-Semitic, why criticizing Israel is not anti-Semitic. That is no longer the case. Zionists are on the defense now, explaining why they support apartheid and genocide. They're no longer going to be allowed in the same spaces as progressives. It is a racist, colonial, genocidal ideology, and it has been exposed.
Yes, it has. And every day they face even more exposure. Anna Kasparian was on a rant as well. I'm just going through all the clips here. There's just so many people waking up. I love it.
And for any Israelis watching this right now, I want you to be clear. I want you to understand this, okay? Because others are very afraid. You know, I get the IDF sending me pictures of their weapons, talking about how they're gonna slaughter me. I'm not afraid of you. Not afraid of you, okay? All the other cowards in American media, they can F off. They're not like me. I'm different. I'm not afraid of you, okay? So while you're cashing checks that are funded by my tax dollars and the tax dollars of my fellow Americans, I need you to understand something clearly. You are hated internationally. Hated. Don't be mistaken based on the propaganda you hear in American media. That's not representative of how the American people feel about you. You're hated. And it's not because you're Jewish. It's because you slaughter innocent people. It's because you think you're God's chosen people when you act like absolute demons. That's the reality. The whole international community loathes you. Mm-hmm. Young American citizens in this country, both left and right, loathe you. And eventually, these are the people who are gonna come into power. So I think Israel's days are numbered as it pertains to America backing its disgusting, loathsome behavior. It's war crimes, it's slaughter of innocent people.
Mm-hmm. And for you Christian Zionists out there, you need to be smacked upside the head with a 2x4 of reality, because if you're supporting Zionism, you're supporting Remphan. You're supporting Baal worship. You're supporting Moloch. And you don't even know it, thanks to the Schofield Bible. And I remind you again, you know, when Jesus threw the money changers out of the temple, those were the imposters. Because the real Jews didn't believe in that. Usury is illegal according to Christians. And again, Revelation chapter 2, verse 9, I quote, I know thy works and tribulation and poverty, but thou art rich. Shing! And I know the blasphemy of which say they are Jews and are not, but are the synagogue of Satan. Yeshua tried to tell everybody. And again, in Revelation 3:9, he said, behold, I will make them of the synagogue of Satan, which say they are Jews and are not, but do lie. It's all right there, folks. And I'm not trying to, have a Bible beater here. I am not a religious person. I am a spiritual person. I believe in God. I believe in the words of Yeshua. But I'm not here to proselytize or make anybody believe. But if you look at the history and put the puzzle pieces together, it ain't hard to get the big picture. And I'm so glad to see that there are so many people that are waking up to this. And they're saying basically, Israel's done. Israel is toast because the world is waking up. And again, if the United States and our representatives, our congresspersons, congressmen, congresswomen, our Senate, and our President Trump, you've taken $230 million from AIPAC. What price? Treason. What price?
There's a video circulating online of this little girl. She couldn't have been no more than 7 or 8 years.
I meant to play a different clip here, but let's see. Because let me see. Oh dear, what was that noise here? I'm getting in my my earphones. There we go. They love to say Hamas. Everybody. I see these posts on the social media. And let me see, I'm having a little audio problem here. Let's see here. All right. I keep on hearing people saying Hamas. And people don't realize that Hamas was created by Israel. And here's, let me see.
So are you saying...
Ahmad Barak in an interview that he did. Here's the interview.
So are you saying Benjamin Netanyahu deliberately boosted Hamas to try to prevent a Palestinian state?
Yeah, sure. He deliberately and systematically even told, on record, whoever wants to avoid the threat of a two-state solution has to support my policy of paying protection money to the Hamas.
So what we... Okay, that was Ehud Barak. He was former prime minister. And by the way, Netanyahu is quoted back in 2019, and I can quote this. He says, in order to secure a Palestinian state, in other words, in order to take over Palestine, he said, in order to secure a Palestinian state, we must support Hamas. We must fund Hamas. Let me see, and here's another quote, and let me see, I've got my notes here. First, we just heard from Ehud Barak, and let me see, where's the next? The next quote here is, Ami Ayalan. He's from Shin Bet. Here's what he had to say. Oh, I hit the wrong button. I hate when that happens.
Solution has to support my policy of paying protection.
Okay, that's Ehud Barak, a former prime minister.
With the permission of our prime minister is to let Qatar to transfer a huge amount of money in cash, probably more than $1.4 billion. By doing it, we increase the power of Hamas. We did everything in order to make sure that Hamas will go on controlling Gaza.
Okay, that's the voice of Ami Ayalan, and he's from Shin Bet.
And Palestinian Authority will control the West Bank, so they will fight each other.
Okay, and now we hear from Yehuda Shaul. He was a former IDF commander, Israeli Defense Force commander.
The beast, and it exploded in our face. If you base your national security strategy solely on force, then you need to win 24/7 forever.
That's right. In other words, this is not win or lose for them. This is win or die. And it's sort of the way it is with the Democrats right now. They are just completely, the Democratic Party is completely collapsing. But anyway, that's a whole another topic to get into. The bottom line here, folks, is that, yes, the world is hating Israel, and they're hating the United States. That's you. That's me. That's, as long as we're in the United States, the world hates us and will continue to do so. The hatred will grow even more and more, and God help us if we end up in a world war, because the whole world will be against Israel and the United States. Now, Israel's about the size of New Jersey, and all it's going to have to take is, a couple of big ones to knock out Israel. United States is a little bit different. But the point is, though, is that the whole world hates us. And until we rediscover our patriotic American patriotic heritage and grow a pair and stand up for what we believe in, until we shrug off this control that is, being hoisted upon us by the imposter Jews, the Zionists. Unless we do that, folks, we're going to suffer the same consequences. And this is why I'm saying to all of the honest, God-fearing Jews out there that go by the Torah, you've got to stand up too. You've got to condemn Israel, because Israel does not represent your values. Israel is not is ruled by the Talmud. And unfortunately, the Talmud and the Ashkenazis or the Khazars or whatever way you want to call them, their methodology depends on 3 tools, and here they are.
Bribery, coercion, blackmail.
Is that what God's chosen people use for their tools? I don't think so. But that's what the Zionist Talmudic Jews use. And like I was just playing, Ursula von der Leyen, what did she say?
Europe is the values of the Talmud.
Yeah, well, that's because Europe's been taken over. All the world leaders have been basically influenced by one of these 3 words.
Bribery, coercion, blackmail.
And that brings into the issue, the Jeffrey Epstein issue. Yeah, I mean, that is a very deep topic. Very deep, because it's a lot deeper than a lot of people realize. Yeah, and again, Dan Bongino doesn't know who's in charge of all those videotapes. It must be some Middle Eastern country. So I guess Bongino is either compromised. Now, there's a part of me that suffers from hope porn. I hope that Sun Tzu's tactic here, Sun Tzu from The Art of War, he said, hold your friends close, but hold your enemies closer. So, I mean, I'm hoping, I am praying that maybe by Trump and the Congress snuggling up to Israel and doing everything they can to make Bibi Netanyahu and the Israelis, the Talmudic Zionist monsters over there, make them feel comfortable, make them feel relaxed. So maybe at some point the United States can say, guess what? We're coming for you. I would love to see that. Now, I don't wish anybody to have to suffer. I don't want to see death and destruction. I'm a child of the 60s and 70s. All you need is love. Come on, people, now. Smile on your brother. Everybody get together. Try to love one another. I mean, that's where I'm coming from. I don't want war. You know, what was that thing that they said? What if they threw a war and nobody came? You know, I mean, I don't want to see. I would like to see this world finally, once and for all, live in harmony. But yeah, but then again, that's just a pipe dream. But you know, maybe someday that could happen. But the only way it's going to happen is that we have to purge the world of this evil, this spiritual cancer that so many people are suffering from. And the sad thing is many of them don't even know it. Some of them actually are supporting this cancer and not even really realizing that it's a cancer. You know, the Christian Zionists out there, they think that they're doing the right thing. Mike Huckabee over there, sucking up to the IDF, they think they're doing the right thing. Or maybe they're doing it because they don't have much of a choice. All right, we got a couple minutes left. Let me jump on the phone here. Somebody's calling in. Okay, who do we have there? Hello, caller, you're on the air. Go ahead.
Hey, it's Mike, your buddy Mike.
Oh, hey, Mikey, how you doing?
Okay. I like what you're talking about, and I had told you about this before. One of my favorite writers, Jonathan Cahn, wrote a book called The Dragon Prophecy, and it goes through the last couple thousand years and how Satan, Lucifer, the devil, the bad guy, switched everybody's roles to deceive everybody. And now that we're in the end times, we're there, where the Jews are the Palestinians and the Palestinians are the Jews, but it goes through the whole history. So if anybody's really interested on this, I strongly recommend The Dragon Prophecy by Jonathan Cahn. Now, if you don't know Jonathan Cahn, he's a Messianic Jew. Now, he's a Jew that believes in Jesus.
Right.
And he's written several books. My other favorite one right now is Return of the Gods, which also explains how the whole world is falling apart and why.
Mm-hmm. I read that one.
You know, it's the powers that be in the high atmosphere, in the heavens.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they're fighting a war and they're deceiving us. But on this subject of Jews and Hamas and Palestinians, I strongly recommend The Dragon Prophecy by Jonathan Cahn.
The Dragon Prophecy by Jonathan Cahn. Okay. Very good.
It explains everything. Everybody go out and buy it.
Okay.
That was it.
Oh, okay. Well, no, I appreciate that. But you're absolutely right. And I did read The Return of the Gods. And some of that stuff still had me scratching my head. But a lot of it was really did explain a whole lot of stuff that's been going on. Really did. So, no.
Well, you were just talking about how, you know, these people are worshiping Baal and all these other gods. And they are, and it's explained in Return of the Gods. Mm-hmm. The gods are back, and the gods are manipulating human beings. They're deceiving us.
Right.
Remember, in the beginning of the Bible, you always quote this to me. If there isn't one God, what is the quote, Dave? I forget.
Thou shalt have no other gods before me. In other words, plural, not one other god, but gods.
Right. There were multiple gods.
Mm-hmm.
And our God is our God, our one true God. But all these other gods were fighting with him in the heavens and manipulating humankind throughout all of history.
Mm-hmm.
And now, and then, you know, Jesus was sacrificed and the gods were taken out. They were chained up for a while, but now they're back. And that's why people are angry. Everybody's just going bonkers. It's all this influence. Now, once you know this, you are blessed to know, you know, what's going on. And then it becomes our responsibility to spread the word. Just like it says in the book of Tribulations, that those who will be left behind will be there to tell the world, to tell people what's going on and spread the truth. So I'm doing it now. The truth is, we've all been deceived. All the roles have been switched, and we need to be aware of that, and that's what you're doing on today's show.
Well, I'm trying, and I don't, claim to be a very religious person. I'm a sinner like everybody else, and I'm not an expert on any of this stuff, but I don't know, maybe God smacked me upside the head, 30 years ago. As a matter of fact, I have a song I'm ready to play here that I wrote 30 years ago, and it's happening now. Can't believe it. Hey, Mike, thank you for the call.
Okay.
All right, you take it easy. All right, let me share. Okay, let me share this song with you folks, and because it's happening now. Here we go.
There's something brewing. People know that things aren't right. We're in the dark. It's black as night. And when the ones who see the truth try to convey, they're ridiculed and turned away. But now it's time for us to see there really is conspiracy. If we don't act, we won't be free. We must be brave. a slave. I think we all know we've been lied to through the years. Events confirm our darkest fears. And in denial we still act like nothing's wrong. We work so hard to get along. Manipulate and rearrange. The plan is brilliant and long range, and no one notices the change. Understand, it's all been planned. We can prevail, we can make our freedom last. Forget your history and you'll repeat your past. Search your heart and you'll know that it's true. It's up to us. What will we do? In 2 Timothy, it's there in chapter 3. It's in the book for all to see. With so much knowledge, yet so distant from the truth, polluting minds of all our youth. It's written in our history. Will not see. It's not to you, it's up to me. We must be brave or be a slave.
That's right, folks. It's up to you. It's up to me. We must be brave or be a slave. And that's why I said earlier, America, you've got to rediscover your testicular fortitude. We have to be courageous. We have to have the guts to stare the monster in the eyes. Because if we don't, we're just going to end up collapsing and falling as victim to the totalitarian dictatorship, that the Antichrist, if you will. I mean, you know, a lot of folks are saying, you know, the coming AI, this transhumanism, is the creation of the beast. Now, I don't know that to be true, but I mean, I do see the dystopian direction that this whole world is taking, and it's all based upon deception. Now, I've said this many times, if the truth is never easy to find, how easy is it to watch your television and get spoon-fed the horse hockey that they're throwing at you? You got to do some research, folks, thinking on your own. Don't trust the media. All right, that's going to wrap up today's Tuesday, Taco Tuesday version or edition of the WTF Reports. If you're enjoying this broadcast and you're listening on Rumble or BitChute or YouTube, please click like, click share, and subscribe, and get word of mouth out there. Say, hey, folks, there's this really good broadcast. You really ought to hear this. So, and I rely upon your support to keep this show going. So do business with our advertisers. Check out the Wave Watch and Get More Tank, etc., etc. Help us keep the lights on and grow the program. That said, we're flat out of time. I'll be back tomorrow, same time, same place. same website. So God bless you all. Stay safe. Stay free, for the love of God. God bless you all. We'll see you tomorrow.